Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Taxes. And I just want to introduce myself. I'm Brian Mee. I'm the franchise owner for H&R Block in Duncan. I have offices, I have 10 offices running at this time of the year. I have 6 in Duncan, the Cowichan Valley area. I have 3 in the Campbell River area, and I have Squamish Whistler giving me the total of 10 offices. I travel between them a lot. The tax system is a more complicated one than it was when I took it in 1979 when I learned on it. So I want to share some of my knowledge with you, hear what you guys want to hear about the tax system, and I want you to ask questions of me, what your thoughts are. Do you have to file? What do I put on my tax return? What are some of the obligations I have as a taxpayer now that you're coming? And by the way, us oldies and gray hairs, we really appreciate you guys coming into the workforce because we want to retire, and you're going to pay for it. You're paying me to retire, so we'd like to thank you. And I need about 1, 2, 3, 5 of you to take care of me, okay? You can take care of your grandparents, you can take care of your parents, that's what we're going. You've heard the expression that the debt that we're carrying right now, you're going to be paying for it, not me, you are, okay? So, we want you to do it right. File your tax returns correctly, but only pay your fair share, okay? You're not required to pay $1 more, okay? You heard the expression in the Bible, pay unto Caesar what is Caesar's and what is not is yours. Okay? Well, that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about. What is the fair share? Been doing the income tax business 38 years. It's a seasonal business. We bust our buns at this time of the year. I get started about November, and then I finish up about mid-June by the time I finish my season. Then I put my feet up on the desk and I get travel. So, anybody likes that type of work, come talk to me. We'll talk to you about what the income tax business is all about. But I'm not going to sell you about the income tax business. But it's a good business. I've been doing it for 38 years. I am not an accountant. I don't have any designations behind my name. Okay? I've just learned this on my own. It's not that bad, but it is difficult, the tax system. If you think software is going to help you, it isn't. Software is just a glorified calculator. You still need to know the rules regarding the different deductions, the credits, and reporting of income, and how to calculate it. And it's very complicated, okay? Software will not do it. If you buy software, you use the free software, it's just a glorified calculator and it's not always right, okay? And if it's not right, who's responsible to Revenue Canada? You and I, okay? You can try to blame the software company, but you know, those little agreements we sign off on when we go click and accept, you're absolving them of any responsibility for any errors that they made. Who must file a tax return? Yeah.
You want to?
Oh, no, I have. I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah. Who, okay. What makes you decide to file a tax return? What was the reason you filed?
Well, like T4 forms.
T4. You bet. And what were you hoping to get when you filed?
Money back.
Money back. Exactly. We all like that money back business. You bet. But that's because, I'm sorry, your name?
Jasmine.
Jasmine?
Yeah.
And that's because she doesn't want to pay more than her fair share. Hopefully you get it all back, and that was your fair share, it's called zero.
Yeah, I did it in like grade 8, and it was like $10 back, so.
$10?
Yeah. That is nothing.
I gave a guy just this last few weeks, I gave a guy calculated a $23,000 refund for him. He was happy and sad at the same time because the government had his money for a whole year, that excess money, because that wasn't his fair share. He paid too much of the fair share, so he took it back as a refund to get there. So, who must file a tax return? If you have income, taxable income, even non-taxable income, still has to be shared on the tax return. If you sell a house or you have a capital transaction where you sold stocks, bonds, or any investment securities or real estate, you have to file a tax return. You have to show, even if you lost money on the stock, you're still required to declare it. So, my suggestion to you is, do not file. You ever heard of something called a GST check? Are you aware of something called GST? Every time you buy something, you're paying that darn tax, okay? That tax is a paintbrush. It's a huge paintbrush. It paints everybody with the same rate. But the tax hurts certain people, especially low-income taxpayers. So we get back some of the tax if your income is in the lower rate. And that's anywhere between 0 and about $35,000. After $35,000 income, you start not getting the full amount of that GST back. And that's how the bean counters have set it up. You file your tax return, and if you have low income, you will get back some of that GST you paid on your purchases. So that's part of the tax system, is this personal GST tax credit. Another reason to file a tax return is to get the money back. Is also to pay your fair share. We have something called a T4 slip. And that's where we report our employment earnings. This is a T4 slip if you haven't seen one yet. Here's the name of your employer. Here's your social insurance number. Here's your name and your address. And here is the taxation year here. Box 14, the biggest box of all, the most famous box. This records your gross income, okay? Not your net. Your paycheck takes care of the net. This is reporting your income. This is everything that's on your pay stubs that you get as an employee, okay? Your employer will report your gross earnings, $10 an hour times 40 hours, you earn $400 gross. But that's just representing a 2-week or a 1-month period is what that pay stub represents. And you get another one and another one as you're working for somebody. This summarizes a whole year of pay stubs. You need to keep your pay stubs. They are very important. Okay? If you don't get this T4 from the employer, do I have to not file my tax return or file it? No. You're required to file and report all your income. By the way, it's not just in Canada, it's your worldwide income. If you're a resident of Canada, you're required to report your worldwide income. United States, it's not. We base it on residency. If you live here and you're not a citizen, you're still required to file a tax return. United States, it's based on citizenship. You file a tax return if you're a citizen of the United States. Here in Canada, we base it on residency. Quite a bit different. But back to the T4 and the pay stubs. If your employer is a landscaping company and he or she, has a lot of financial difficulties and it goes belly up, and you're probably not going to get one of these from that person, so you have to default it to your pay stub. And if you're involved with an employer who says, I'm sure your first name? Kennedy? And I'm one of those employers say, hey Kennedy, I'm just really having a problem. I haven't got my bookkeeper, hasn't done your pay stub. Hey, how much do I owe you for this month? Oh, you owe me $400. Here's 390. I'll take some off for some taxes. I'll catch up with you next month, okay? So let's get back to work. If you're involved with one of those employers and just say it's cash, it's under the table, watch out, folks. Those are the type of employers where they take off the CPP off your pay stub. They take off the EI off your pay stub. And they might take off Kennedy's. They might take off some income tax as well if you're within the realm of having income tax withheld at source for that month's pay. Well, hold on. He just took $200, $20, $10. He took $230 off my pay. Where does it go? Where do you think that money goes? That he has taken off Kennedy's paycheck? Probably right there. But where is it supposed to go? Where do you think it's supposed to go? Wild guess. Come on. Goes to the government. Payroll will then monitor it. And that's why we need your SIN number on there. So we can credit it to your SIN number, your name and SIN number. But if he or she doesn't submit it, what's your backup? Your pay stubs, folks. Okay? So those pay stubs are really, really important. It's the checks and balances to make sure, just like when you go through the till at Costco or Thrifties, you only pay what you're required to pay, right? Everything's scanned and it comes up on the screen. It's $5.99. No, it wasn't. It was $3.99. I know what those turnips cost. Okay? So that's when you say something. Well, the same thing with income tax, folks. Here's my pay stubs, and it says I earned, this is annually, I earned $4,000. And I had $500 in income tax withheld. My pay stub says I had $600 in taken off my pay stub. Hey George, you messed up on my T4 slip. You owe me more. Because you want to get that back. as Jasmine had, she got a refund back. So we want to get that money back, but you need to have the documentation to support yourself or to support your claim. Without it, you're just out $100. But it could be even more. So hold on to the pay stubs, folks. Okay? You need to have them. Same thing with records of employment if you wanted to collect EI. But if you're dealing with an employer who's having administrative difficulties or financial difficulties, be careful. You'll need to know their name, their address, who they are, so you want to have a communication with them and understand who they are, where they live, if they're a small employer. These are just some clues and some problems that we've faced over the years with some of our first-time filers. Just some of the things I thought we might want to talk about. So why do we have to file tax returns? We talked about that already. Why do we pay income tax? That's a good question. Why do we pay income tax? What does the government do when they have billions or $1 trillion of income they've collected this year? What do they do with all that money? What are your thoughts? Anybody, come on.
They use it to pay for stuff.
They pay for stuff. What do you think they pay for?
Your medical bill.
Roads. You bet.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure, big one. You bet.
Your
And
medical
what's
bill.
happening to this building? They're renovating. Yeah. What do you think?
Your medical bill.
Medical. Yes, medical is a big one of the budget.
It's 50%.
You think it's about 50%?
NBC.
How about military spending? Don't they want some new helicopters? Here over at Comox, they want some new helicopters, a new plane. Whose family here is in the military? Nobody? Search and rescue? Cadets? That's funded by the military. How about the place you're sitting? Home education. That's paid for by the taxpayers, folks. When you go to post-secondary institutions like UVic or UBC in Vancouver or technical or colleges, how much do you pay? Tuition is getting pretty up there, isn't it? It's getting expensive to go to the next level of education. What do the foreign students pay when they come to Canada? Got any guesses on that? $13,000 they pay. How much do you pay for a semester or 2 semesters? You pay about 3, maybe 4. Because they're not funded by the federal and provincial government, okay? That's an underwritten cost already by our country, by our governments we have today. So you're not paying the true cost. Same thing with medical care. How much does it cost when you go to the hospital to have a checkup or have a test done? How much do you have to reach in your pocket and pull out to pay for it? 0. Which is a whole lot different than what's going on down in the States right now. Are you listening to the news about Obamacare and Trump and how he wants to reorganize it? One of my associates who was supposed to be here today, Karen, who operates the H&R Block office here in Cork in Comox, her daughter is deathly ill. She has pancreatic cancer.
Please pardon the interruption. Mr. Kobe, would you please come to the office? Mr. Kobe to the office.
And so her hospital bills for her family have already been over $100,000 and they can't pay them. So we are very fortunate here in Canada, folks, even though we do have a tax system that's quite high compared to the United States, by about 10% difference. So we may pay 30% tax here, down there paying about 10 or 20% is what the difference. So that's what taxes are used for, is some of these things, plus many other things. Unfortunately, I'm a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm conservative, and Trudeau is spending a lot more money than he's bringing in right now, hence the word deficits or overspending the budget. How do we get a refund back? Well, a refund is calculated, folks, by your income, less your deductions, less some credits, and then you calculate what tax bracket you're in and what province you're from. So if I have total income, that's all my fancy deductions, and that's your job to learn what those are, or get more understanding of that. I teach taxes, and in September I teach a tax class in Duncan, Campbell River, and in Squamish, and it goes for about 3 months, and that only covers about 65% of the returns that are filed with Revenue Canada. The other 35% is the more complicated stuff. But that's just the basics, as we call it, the income tax. And that takes the students 3 months, going 6 hours a week for 3 months just to get 65% of the knowledge of what qualifies. Software will not do it for you, folks. You need to understand the income tax act. You need to understand it. So get to learn that more. Okay. How do you calculate the refund? At the end of the day, you owe Prime Minister Trudeau $1,000. You owe Christy Clark, you Premier of our province, $500. You owe $1,500. That's your tax liability. But what did you have taken off your pay? Well, back to that T4 slip that talked about withholding tax. And if you have several of those T4s, hopefully it totals more than $500. Therefore, you get a refund back like Jasmine did. So that's how you pay, folks. The payroll tax that they take off your pay stubs is only a good estimate. It's just, yeah, we'll take that much off. Because there's so many variables. It's when you come down to paying your fair share, that's when you come down to filing and getting paid. Only down to the last penny is when you file your tax return and you get back or have to top up. If you only had $1,400 taken off your pay stubs and your T4s show that and you owe $1,500, you have to pay the other $100 at the end of the year. Okay. That's where you come down to your fair share of what your obligations are. You're going to hear a lot of myths and misunderstandings as you go through the working career and start getting other jobs and getting other skill sets. You need to listen to things, but you will hear a lot of myths and misunderstandings about what other people are writing off. Yeah, some people may have written it off in their tax return, but it's wrong. Get clarity on that before you file for something if you're not sure. Seek assistance, seek questions. I've given you an H&R Block envelope. Can I just roll that? On the back, it talks about all sorts of receipts, slips, and other deductions you might be entitled to. And that's a lot of them. These are all the line numbers that appear on a tax return and some of the schedules to give an idea of what's out there and what you might want to qualify for. If you come to an H&R Block office for help or you want to phone them, tax questions are free in our offices. You know, we're not like an accountant. We go, every 6 minutes I get to bill you X dollars. Not with us. It's free. Okay. In fact, in my office in Campbell River, in my office in Duncan, and in Squamish, all my clients, my young people, get their first year tax return prepared at no cost. But it comes with one downside. You have to listen to me. Teach you about pay stubs, ROEs, and filing tax returns. Comes with that fatherly love and care for you. Okay? Everybody gets it. But you get a free tax return. Thoughts that you might have under the income tax system, folks. Thoughts. What have you heard about your parents or your parents have talked about? Your parents haven't talked to you about taxes? That's not very big, is it? Can you see that? MSP. It ties in with the tax return, folks. It ties in with your net income of your tax return. You have to file the tax return. Why am I worried about this right now? Your parents are taking care of this cost for you right now. There's a cost for in this province, we charge our British Columbians, they have to pay up to $75 for a single person has to pay per month for their, have you got your health care card in your pockets? Your private insurance or your number there? That costs money for that card, and this is what you have to pay for. You need to get you keep your card, but you have to file for your own plan at the age of 19. But in this province, $0 to $24,000, you will pay zero. It's called premium assistance. And you need to file these two slips, and these two. One's the application form, and the other one is for the premium assistance, which I'm showing you here. And you need to send this in by May. By the end of May, you have to file to send this in. And you're saying to the province, my income is this level, therefore I'm not required to pay premium assistance. But most of you guys are unaware of this because nobody's told you. So you need to file this form, because if you don't, a year from now, When you file your tax return, and Jasmine thinks she's not getting a $10 refund, she's getting $1,000 back. They're gonna put a lien on your tax return for about $800 and take it away from you. You're going, what happened? I was expecting $1,000. Somebody came in and took $800 off you. Those robbers, those pirates. It was Christy Clark. No, it wasn't. It was because you didn't understand that you qualified for a program called Premium Assistance. You need to fill this out in 19, folks. Now, there are some exceptions with some plans, with some of your parents might have a health care plan that may pay the premiums for you when you're going to a post-secondary institution, college, university, or trade school. So you may not have to. But if you're on your own, at 19, you're off your parents, and you're on your own, folks. File this right away, okay? It doesn't cost you anything to file. If your income is between $24,000 and $26,000, you pay $11 a month. Not bad. And once you hit up to $42,000, you're paying $60. If you're making $42,000 and you can afford $75 a month. I know I wouldn't mind paying that, but I only want to pay my fair share. Okay? I don't want to pay any more. And these programs are available. All you have to do is file the form. It's not part of the tax return. It's something separate from the tax return, folks. But I need to tell you about it. File the form. What else? What can you write off in your tax return, folks? What are some of the things you heard you can write off? Who's going to work after they graduate? Just a few. Who's going on to welfare? Who wants to live off $600 a month from welfare? You don't want to, folks. It's not a very good big system. Welfare is funded also by the provincial government. That's a large chunk of goes to welfare. And a single person with no debilitating situation only gets $600 a month for food and shelter. That's it. Can you live off $600? So you got to go to work. And we want you to pay taxes. I want you to pay taxes. But only your fair share. So get some help and assistance in that area. Learn more what's available to you. And if you're just too busy because you're working up at Fort Mac or the oil patch or something like that, get help. Ask questions. Okay? Ask questions. And if you want, you can hire a tax practitioner to help you. But tell them what's bothering you. Okay? From the point of view of just like you do a doctor, hey, it hurts here, it hurts here. Tell them, same thing with tax returns. I've done this past year. I did some work for a buddy. He didn't pay me. He paid me under the table, or he paid me cash instead of giving me a T4 slip. You still have to declare that. You have to declare all your income to Canada. And folks, with the Big Brother computer at Revenue Canada, all this information feeds Big Brother computer at Revenue Canada. Provinces, databases they reach into that you wouldn't know that exist. I've seen it over the years. It's a lot. So you're not going to hide anything from Revenue Canada. And it's better not to have a skeleton in your closet. Say, oh, I got away with it. They didn't know about it last year. I saved all that money. I didn't declare it on my tax return. And a prime example, who's here in the wait? Who's been here a waiter or a waitress? Yeah, tips, right? That's one. Some days you pay more than your wages because you're an exceptional waitress. Let's say you worked at the Chop House, or you worked at Fluids, or you worked at some of those really nice places and some of those fast places where you get a lot of volume, but you pick up instead of a $10 or $15 tip, you might pick up a $5 tip, and you pick up 30 of those in a day. Not bad dough. Bottom line, folks, there's a lot of people leaving their stressful jobs and going to serve tables because of the tips. Well, guess what? That has to be declared. That has to be declared. And when you pull out your debit card or your credit card and you put on a tip on there, it's recorded. You can't hide that. And when my clients who have restaurants get audited, they take care of the audit on the restaurant, and then where do they put that big audit gun? To you. And they can see all the transactions. Because when they're audited, they see all the electronic transactions, and it shows tips on the printouts, because it's all electronic, folks, it's traceable. And when the restaurant has good books and records, they can say some of it's yours. You worked in the kitchen, so you get some, and you did the dishes, you get some, and you bust tables, you get some. You know? So we're all sharing in the tip pool. It's traceable, folks, it's trackable. So please, don't think you're getting away with something by not fully disclosing your income. Or you're doing landscaping work and a guy pays you cash, $150 to help out. Now, Brian, some of the questions I get from some of the people is, my uncle paid me some money to help out. Do I have to declare the tax that amount from my uncle? At that point, it could be viewed as gifting kind, and that's not taxable, especially when you're dealing at what we call a non-arm's length transaction. Because a non-arm's length transaction is related by blood, by marriage, or by adoption, okay? And we can go into those rules if somebody wants to talk about it. So, it looks like we're running out of time. What I'd like you to do is, you've got the envelope, my business cards are here. Talk some of these things over with your parents. You know, they've talked about birds and bees. Talk about income tax and ask mom and dad some questions about their tax return. And say, hey dad, let's talk about taxes. You know what you'll do? You'll blow them away when you start asking these questions. And if they can't answer the question, grab my business card, it's free. Talk to me, folks. I really enjoy talking, so take my card. Call Karen and Corey here in the Comox or Courtney office. They'd be glad to answer any questions for you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your contribution. Thanks.
So this is a workshop on resumes and cover letters. I'm going to be handing out a few handouts. And one of the things, how many people are applying for bursaries? Nobody? What? What grade are you guys all in? Well, nobody's applying for bursaries? Okay, so not a bad idea if you want some money for post-secondary. My son is a student at ISFEL, and I was helping him with his bursary application, and then my wife and I were helping. And I noticed in their book that they have what I just handed out, a handout in their booklet about the awards resume. So I'm going to quickly talk about the difference. The difference between the awards resume and a regular work resume is that in a new awards resume, you're using your resume to try to help you get some awards and some bursaries. So there's some good suggestions in this paper as to what to do if you do want to or are planning on applying for bursaries. Because they do ask for a resume when you watch out for that camera, please. Yeah. Thank you. They are going to ask you for a resume. And it says that you need, before you start, you need to brainstorm relevant data in a variety of categories. And the categories are academics, achievement. So if you have anything, if you ever won an award, yeah.
I have to win something.
Right.
I love my
Okay.
work in the library.
If you had any awards in school, you know, this is where you mention them. Athletic achievements, if you've had any outstanding performances or whatever, or even if you've been involved in any sports or athletics, that's a really good opportunity to place them in there. Achievements in visual and performing arts. Not everybody's an athlete. Some people are more artistic. So if you're involved in dance or the play or the band or those things, it's important to put that in a resume, in your awards type resume. And any kind of school involvement. If you're involved in some of the clubs that go on, if you're doing things that are helping out for leadership or what's that club where the Rotary runs? Anyways, there's a bunch of different clubs in the school that if you apply for, you can help out with, and you should let the note that on your resume. And then not just school involvement, but community involvement. Is there anything that you're doing outside to volunteer? This is where you include your work experience hours and other things like that. And then seminars and conferences, things that you attended. Yesterday, we took a bunch of kids to the party program, so that How many people here have been to the party program? Where they would take you to the hospital and... Nobody? Nobody's been to the party program? I thought all grade 10s went at some point. Anyway, so if you've done that, that's something that you can list on your resume to show that you've done some outside learning. And then it's also interests. Look at your interests. What are your hobbies, pastimes? You know, if you're into gardening or cars or model car building, anything like that, horseback riding. And then finally, your work experience. In a work, when you're applying for a job resume, your work experience will be more prominent, but for the awards resume, it goes at the end. And there's just some examples, they just give some examples. How many people here have had paid work? Okay, so it's really important to do that. Make sure that's on your resume. So this thing that I'm going to be handing out next is just an example of an awards resume. So if you are planning on applying for bursaries, you can use that sheet that I just gave you and also this resume that's coming out just as an example, okay? Take one, please, and pass it down. There you go. There you go. Thank you. So the other thing about resumes is that there's lots of information about them that changes. Some people say it should only be one page. Some people say it should be more. Some people say that it...
Sorry for the interruption, I'm just going to steal 2 minutes of your time. Go ahead, set it down.
Yeah.
So, in this group right now, we are resumes and cover letters, correct?
Yeah, we are.
Everybody that should be in here is on this list. Make sure you sign in or you do not get credit for being in here. Signature on it, yep.
Wait, sorry, so that's just like a proof that we're here then?
You got it. Don't sign for your friends. I'm really good at finding fake signatures. Your booklets I'm also going to place on the table. Make sure you take your booklet today with you. You do not need it for the sessions, but it is all the information for when it's due, getting it done, which is April the 14th they're due. So, that's this group here.
So their booklets are going to be here when they leave?
Nope, they take them with them. They
Yeah, but
belong to them.
they grab their...
Grab your booklet, you take it with you, and you keep it until April 14th, and then you hand it back into the work experience office.
So when we finish up today, I'll finish up a couple minutes early so that you can grab your booklet. And what else? Sign in. Make sure you sign in.
If your booklet is missing, chances are pretty good you may have not been on the list or something went wrong. Come and see us in the work experience office. I probably have it here. Okay, have fun, guys. Thanks.
Just one sec.
So, can you guys see the overhead?
Steve was asking
This is a website that talks about how what teens should do to get for a website. So it's I'm just trying to find. Okay, this is for how to prepare for a resume that is going to get you a job. What is it? What really is a resume? Anybody? Yeah. Can you say that a little bit louder? Yeah, it's something that you're telling your employer or your prospective employer about you and why they should hire you. And it takes the place of an application. And it gives you an opportunity to list your experiences. And you're kind of selling yourself. So these are the things that this website, it's an Australian website. I try to find a Canadian one, but there is a really good website for any job searching in Canada, and it's called monster.ca. But it's really aimed at people that are in university or college and a little bit older. So I was trying to find some stuff that would resonate with people that are your age. And the one that I came up from Australia, I thought was pretty good. So number one, it says to volunteer. Especially, when you're younger, sometimes it's not always easy to find a job. But if you had some volunteer experience, it doesn't have to be much, just something that shows that you demonstrated some ability and willingness to volunteer and get some experience. Number 2, great references. So there's a lot of people when they write a reference, a resume. How many people here have written a resume before? And what does anybody willing to say what they put about references? Yeah?
Sorry, just repeat it.
Did you say something about references on your resume?
References?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have Mr. Ferguson and I have my last job before.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did for references.
Yeah. So sometimes people put references given on if they need it. If they're, I'm trying to think of the word, but oh yes, references supplied on request. So if the company is requesting a reference, then they will put a reference forward. That, I guess that's one way of doing it. But if you could get 2 or 3 people that you know that would vouch for you, who isn't your mom, to write a reference letter, a general reference letter, that's something that you can keep in a portfolio or a file and use when you're applying for a job now or when you're applying for a job in the future. You can collect those, and it's a really good idea to have somebody that will speak well about you. Okay. Then they also say creativity. It's really hard to be creative in a resume. Some people say you should put pictures on it and everything, but what they're saying is look outside the square on how things are done. A resume does not have to be printed on a white piece of paper, so it's a nice idea to use to buy some nice heavier gauge paper, maybe a buff or a light blue or a different color. Okay. Tailoring. One resume does not fit all applications. So, how do you guys find out about jobs that are available?
Find out online.
Online? Yeah. It used to be you go in the paper and you find it, but most people today are going to find jobs online, and they tell you in their description of the job what they're looking for. So if they're looking for someone that has a license and somebody that can work in a fast-paced environment or whatever, it's really good to make sure that you address those things in your resume. So tailor the resume to the job. And then never ever lie. So there's a difference between lying and just not saying anything, right? So if they're asking for someone that they want experience, let's say you're applying for a job as a gardener and they say that we want experience cutting grass, for example, and you wouldn't say that I've never cut grass. You just wouldn't just leave it out, kind of thing, right? So, but never lie, because what's the first thing also that if somebody's interested in you, a company is interested in hiring you, what's the first thing they're going to do nowadays to check on you? Pardon me? They might do that, but before that, I got some resumes on my desk. I'm looking at them, and this person says that they have all these things. I think, wow, that looks great. Before I even phone another reference or whatever, other former employee, I'm going to Google them. So you've got to be really careful too about what's on your digital footprint. What do you say if they Google you and they see your Facebook and you were partying on the last weekend? They may or may not like that. But never lie, because it might come back to haunt you. And spelling and grammar. The last time I did this workshop, I got some people handing in resumes. Oh, it was for Planning 10 when people were doing mock interviews. And everybody wrote a resume. And some of them were awesome, but some people made some really pretty basic spelling and grammar rules, or mistakes rather. So the best way to overcome that is get somebody that you know that's good at spelling and grammar, like maybe one of your English teachers, and ask them to proof it for you. Just take a few minutes to go over it, okay? So that's about cover letters. And I have another. That's here. Yeah, that was on resumes, this one, how to write a cover letter. Okay. What is the purpose of a cover letter? You already put your resume in, why put a cover letter in as well?
State your reason why you want to work there and why they should hire you.
Okay, yeah. This is, a cover letter really is a bit of a brag sheet that you're gonna try to identify yourself from everybody else that's applying. And everybody, especially when you're young and you haven't got a lot of work experience yet, everybody's got something that they've done at school. Everybody's got their activities that they've been involved in. Everybody's got maybe one summer job where they worked for an uncle or somebody, you know. So everyone kind of has the same background, but your cover letter gives you an opportunity to kind of really polish it up. So you might be applying for a specific advertised job, or you might be contacting a potential employer to see if they have any vacancies. Either way, your cover letter needs to A, introduce you, mention the job, and that should be in the first or second line. My name is Mark Glenwright, and I'm applying for the job of blah, blah, blah. And you should then try to match your skills with the experience and encourage the reader of your cover letter to read your resume. And finish with a call to action. So I'm looking forward to meeting you for an interview or something like that, okay? So that's the purpose. How long should a cover letter be? They say, and I agree with this, it should never really be more than one page, especially if you know, if you're a young person and you haven't got lots to fill in there yet. It's meant to be a summary of the information you put in your resume, so remember to keep it short. So it's a summary of your resume, but it also you also kind of talk a little bit about the experiences you have, and more specifically. How many people have heard that your resume should only be one page? So there's a lot of people that say that it should only be one page, and they also say, like, a lot of times when a company is hiring somebody, let's say Costco's putting on a hiring thing, they might get hundreds of cover letter, or resumes coming at once, and so the other thing that you have, they say it takes a lot of times when people are going through the process of looking through resumes, they give it like 20 seconds per resume. So it's got to, before they go deeper into it. So you got to, something has to catch it, and that's usually where your cover letter will stand out. Again, if I look and I see a cover letter that's 3 or 4 pages, I'm going to go, oh man, I don't have time for that. I'm going to go, so it's really important to try to put it all into one page for a cover letter and one page for your resume, if you can. If it's something that if you have a lot of things that you're listing and they're important, then it's on your resume, then you go more to point form, and there have been times when I've sent in resumes that have been 2 or 3 pages because I have had a lot of experience in my life. But I make sure that the page is easy to read, it's not all squished in, and there's lots of spaces between, and the font is not too big, but easy enough to read, etc. So those things are important. And then customize your cover letter. They say you should never use the same cover letter for different job applications, and that's true. But you have a master cover letter on your computer, and then you tweak it for each of the jobs, because what did they say earlier, is that you want to mention the job in each cover letter, right? So if you're applying for McDonald's, you're obviously not going to use that cover letter, the exact same cover letter that you would use to apply at Tim Hortons. So you have to customize them a bit. And then they say, here are some simple ways to customize it. Find out who to address it to. That's a really, really great idea. If you're applying to McDonald's and you know somebody that works there, ask them who does the hiring. Ask your friend who does the hiring. It's a little thing, but it makes a big difference. Person knows that you've done some research. Find out more about the job. that's another, especially if you're going into not just an entry-level job, but if you're going into a job that you're maybe doing for co-op when you're going to school or after you're finished school, it's really, really important to get some information about the job. Before they Google you, you Google them. Take a look at their website, take a look at what they do, what they're proud of, and make sure that if you can fit those things into the resume or cover letter. So it says what to include in the cover letter: your name and contact details. People might sign their cover letter and not think about putting in how they're going to get contacted. Is it okay to apply for jobs through email? Now, a lot of companies ask for that. A lot of it's electronic, right? So, but it's still a good idea. Still a good idea to know what they want. Then you want to know their name and contact details. That's what I was talking about earlier. Find out a little bit about who they are and how you can contact them. It says there we can also use to whom it may concern, but try not to use that. Use that only as a last resort. If you're applying and you can't find out who it is, you can say to whom it may concern. The other thing that you can say is, "Dear Selection Committee." And that committee might be just a committee of one, but at least it's a little bit more that you're talking about specifically than to whom it may concern. Okay? The name of the job that you're going for. The company that you're applying for may be looking for different people, so make sure that you specify what job you're looking for. This cover letter and resume is an application for the position of dishwasher or whatever the job may be. Make sure you identify it. Okay, so if you're using a job ad, either the ad or the position description may provide a list of skills and experience that are essential for doing the job. That's what I was talking about earlier. If they're asking for skills and experience, it's a really good time to try to fit what you know about yourself that matches those skills and experience that they're asking for. Okay? That's probably one of the most important things. Because your resume is going to be great, but it's going to be the cover letter that gets your job. And a summary of why you're right for the job. I think that my skill set, that I've done A, B, C has provided me with the skill set that I need for this position. Make sure you talk about why you should be the person. And this is not a time to be humble. It's a time to be a little bit bold. Okay? Is that for me? Can you wait for 5 minutes? Yeah. Okay, and what else have we got? Ask them, in the cover letter, as we said earlier, ask them to check out your resume. So you're going to kind of be a little bit pushy on that as well, in a nice way. And we already talked about it. No typo or factual errors. Using I too much. Try to make sure that you don't fill your cover letter with things like I believe, I have, I am. Once you've written your letter, however it is, and once you've written your letter, look it over and see if you can take out or rewrite any sentences that start with I. It looks too kind of, egocentric or something. Okay? And is there one more? Yeah. Oh, talking about cover letters where there's no jobs advertised. So this is just a general one. So if you're dropping off resumes, you can just kind of talk a little bit about yourself. Maybe if you can find out a little bit about the companies that you're applying for, try to tweak it to match that. Any questions about resumes and cover letters? I know that's kind of a quick overview. I have another handout for you guys, and this is the one that is companion. And we've got a cover letter example on the front page, a resume example. It's a little bit different than the resume example I gave you earlier, and a thank you letter example. It's a really good idea, whether you get the job or not, to send them a letter thanking them for it. It's good protocol. Any questions?
Okay, so let's begin. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Linda Marie Hanfield. I'm the Director of HR with the school district. And my main job with the school district is to give the okay to hire all the employees of the school district. And there's about 1,200 of them. And also to deal with issues when employees do not meet the expectations of the employer. So I know a lot about expectations. Before I worked for the school district, I worked in the US and Canada in industries across the board. So what I want to talk about with you today is expectations of employers across many, many industries. And no matter which industries you're in, you will have expectations. And they're usually composed of two areas. Performance, can you do the job? Or two, your conduct and your behavior. So today we're going to talk about those two things so that you're clear and you have an idea of what we're talking about. But before we do that, I'm very, very intrigued and very curious what you think employers expect. I mean, many of you have had summer jobs and have had jobs in the past. So I would be curious to hear from you, so we can write some of those on the board. Before I give you the answers and some information about what the expectations are, I would want to hear from you to see if what you think they are and what I think they are the same or different, and why. Because that would be helpful to give you an idea. So anybody has a sense of what do you think employers expect of any good employee? Any idea? Work ethic? Okay, I'm going to write those down. Okay, work ethic. Yeah. Anything else? Showing up, yes. And that could be part of work ethic for sure. Showing up. Yeah. Anything else?
Being punctual.
Punctual, okay, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Do you think that being a good employee is any different than being a good student?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Of course, you don't get paid when you go to school.
You don't have this homework.
But does it make a difference in terms of being a good employee or a good student? Just to give you a sense of what the type of expectations to succeed. Someone's trying to get in. I understood, 400? Okay, make sure you sign in.
For sure. Not done that.
Yes, room 400, you guys come on in.
Just slam the door on me.
Where we are is, we're asking, you guys have a seat, and what is it that you think employers are expecting from employees? So far we have work ethic, showing up, and being punctual. Can you think of anything else that employer would be expecting?
Manners.
Manners, okay. Okay. Yes? Can you think of anything else? Not only what employers would expect, but for you to keep being employed. Because at times, you might think, oh, that's what they expect, but if I fell short of that, as long as I still have a job, I'm still okay.
Good work ethic.
Work ethic, yes, we have that one here.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, work ethic, showing up, being punctual, and manners. Good
Okay.
manners.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else?
Commitment.
Commitment, and commitment to what?
Your job.
To your job, okay?
Or your job.
Yeah,
Why does jaws on it? That's a legal.
commitment.
Why not?
And we'll talk about commitment in terms of what that means. Because it might mean different things for different people. Would you agree? How about you guys? What do you think employers expect? Any ideas?
All the above.
Pardon me?
All of the above.
All of the above? Absolutely. And what happened is showing up. It takes more than just showing up. Just as showing up for this class, it takes more than just showing up. You have to be present and being here. Because if you're just there, you're just a warm body and you're not really there, then you really can't do your job. just that you wouldn't be able to be in school and then learn. That's the same idea. Can you think of anything else that we're missed on here?
Got to be prepared.
Prepared, okay, yes. So you have to know what's expected of you and then doing it. Just that being here, you have to be prepared and showing up and being here.
Is there a piece of paper I can sign to like sign in?
It's over here, so maybe on your way out, since you guys were late, just make sure you do it before you leave, okay? Anything else? Do you think that if you only did this, is that enough to get you a job and staying employed? Do you think that's all you need to do? No? Work? You have to do the work. Right.
Yeah, what?
Reliable. And you have to get the job done. Right? Because if you have very good manners, but you can't get your work done, but if you can get the work done but have really poor manners, you'll have trouble. Yeah, exactly. You might get the job, but you won't get the job for long, right? And if the intent. Can you think of anything else?
Sober.
Sober, yes. That's a good place to start, yes. Yeah, absolutely. You have to be all there when you're there, because otherwise you're missing the whole point. So we expect certainly for people to have work ethic, you show up every day, you're reliable, you're sober, you're present to be able to do the job. So what I'll do is I wanted to get your sense, because you'll see these are not, they don't change from generation to generation. It's not because you're 18 or when you're 40. All of the things I'm going to talk about today, all those things apply your entire career. And that's why we're taking the time to explain those today, because so you have an idea of what it is in order for you to be successful. Because I'm assuming you all want to have a job, because you all need to make a living, you all want to be happy, but more so than that, if you want a job to be more than just a job and a paycheck, but more so being work that you enjoy and that makes a difference in the world, then you have to have a few of those other criteria. So how about we get into that so you get a sense. I'm giving you some handout. It's orange, so you won't be able to lose it. So how about you take one and you pass it on? Same thing here. And we'll go through each of those. And we'll see if we have similarity or differences. Want to pass it on? You guys? Oh, want to pass it on in the back? Right, you guys? There's a handout coming up. All right, so let's go through this one aspect at a time. And you'll notice how I set it up is, I'll give you just a minute. Okay. Let's have one. So, take one. All right, have a look. So we're going to talk about each of those aspects so you have an idea in terms of what I mean, and I will give you some examples from the 30 years of my background so you have a sense. So you can see what employers are looking for an employee. You see that all the letters on the side, it says alignment. Any idea what I mean by what employers are looking for from an employee is alignment? What does alignment mean as a word? That fits. Absolutely. So it works together. So the most important things is when you're looking for a job, you're looking for something that is going to employ you, but also something that you want to do every day. We spend a lot of time at work, folks, in our lifetime, a lot of hours. So you want to be able to do something every day that you want to get up for and do. And as an employer, we want you to want to come to work every day, not thinking like, oh, I'm gonna hang around today because I don't feel like going to work. The most successful employee-employer relationship is when there's a good fit, and that's where I call it there's alignment between what you want to do every day and what the employer needs you to do every day. And that's where I'm going through all of those aspects here. So let's go to those letters one at a time. Attitude. I'm going to tell you the number one thing. I don't care how skilled you are, how brilliant you are, and all the things that you can do with your hands, and think about, if you have the wrong attitude, you will not last long in the workplace. It has to be a can-do attitude. And it has a lot to do with what is possible, not why you can't do it, and why it's going to be too difficult. So you have to have a can-do attitude in order to approach every problem with an open mind and be able to know and you have to be positive about it. So all the metaphor about something comes up, there's a problem, and you're going to think about all the problems and how discouraging it is and why you can't overcome it. You have to be optimistic, and you have to be open to whatever happens. So the can-do attitude is the number one criteria. If you don't have that, you may get a job, but you won't last very long and have that sense of commitment. Lifelong learning. How many of you want to be able to keep learning? Because if you sit and you're in class and it's the same thing over and over again,
You get very good at it.
you get bored. Absolutely. So if you're able to find an environment where you're going to keep growing and learning new things, you're going to want to go to work because you're going to learn something new today. So, and if you are thinking that you know everything and you don't need to learn anything new, I'm here to tell you that you're kind of in the wrong mindset. The right mindset is learn new things, grow and change, because I'm going to tell you every single employer in the planet, you know how fast things change, how technology, how fast it changes. Well, employers have to adapt and adjust about all the changes in the world as well. And you have to be able to adapt when you work. If you just want to do the same thing every day, the same way you've always done it, you're going to have conflict between the employer and the employee. So you have to be open to change and open to see the difference and adapt and evolve. Because a workplace is a microcosm of society. And you know how society changes, then workplaces changes as well. So certainly lifelong learning. The next part is inspiration. When I said you want to get up in the morning and say, today I'm just going to go and I'm going to, because I'm a plumber and I like solving problems using my plumbing skills, and I'm going to be courteous to the people I meet with. I'm going to solve their problem and they're going to shake my hand and they'll be happy that I solved their problem for them, and that motivates me and inspire me every day. Then that makes a big difference. You're inspired because this is something you know you have the skills to do, and you feel good about it. You have to feel good about what you do in order to be inspired. If you don't feel good about it...
Please pardon the interruption. Mr. Kobe, would you please come to the office? Mr. Kobe to the office.
The next part is I call growth of character. I've ran into many people, your age, new employees. They hit the first problem in their new job and they don't know what to do. They stay stuck and they don't try to overcome adversity. I'm here to tell you that solving problems and going through tough times helps you grow and learn new skills as a person to overcome any type of adversity. Because I'm here to tell you that just as you might have tough time in school about getting along with other people, or you fail a class or some things don't go as planned, I'm here to tell you as an employee, you'll face the same challenges. And your approach to dealing with problems and how you resolve them will make a big difference. So growth of character is about overcoming adversity and just learning from it. The next part in the N, I call it natural gifts and talents. And the main reason for that is that if you are all of you know what you're good at? Do you know when you leave high school what it is that you're not good at? Usually we know what we're not good at. But are you clear about what it is that you're really good at and that you can offer an employer? I have interviewed thousands of people in my life, and I'm here to tell you that they usually tell me what they're not good at and what they don't like to do, but very few are able to articulate what they're really good at and what they can do to help an organization. So before you leave here and before you go out into the world, you have to know yourself well enough to be able to verbalize it. And I'm here to tell you that unless you're able to communicate it, the people hiring you or employing you won't have a clue, because it's all in your... It doesn't speak for itself. And I know there's lots of guys in this room And this is one of the downside of many of the guys I've interviewed, more so than women, has been it speaks for itself. They have my resume, it speaks for itself, they should know what I'm good at. I'm here to tell you that you have to spell it out and talk about it, because otherwise we won't know. So know what you're good at, because that makes a big difference. The M is about integrity, and you folks have touched on all of that, because the one point on this sheet that is connected to what you've talked about is about integrity. You're honest, trustworthy, and humble. You tell the truth. If you don't show up for work, just as you're in school, if you can't put you're due to have a homework or a paper that's due, and then it's not done on time, and you say, my dog ate it, or any type of excuses that are not really the truth, I'm going to tell you in the workplace it's the same thing. If you don't show up on time or there's issues in your life, you have to be honest and tell the truth. If not, it always catches up with you. And this is one of the main things that when I have employees that are in trouble is because they're not telling the truth. There's been a problem, there's been an issue, and then they're not telling the truth, they're trying to cover their tracks, and then they get in more serious trouble because of that. So one of them, to be a model employee, you have to model integrity. You have to be honest and trustworthy, meaning we have to be able to count on you for showing up every day. Absolutely. Why do you think I have the word humble in there? Anybody know what being humble means?
Not boasting about things you've done or can't do.
Yeah. So why would it be something that employers look for in an employee, to be humble? Why do you think that is? Because it's a little bit odd. You guys know? One of the biggest problems is people are not humble. They think they know it all.
I do know it all.
You do?
I know exactly what you're going to say next. I don't know it all.
You don't know it all.
Oh, you're going to say to me.
Because if you're a smart aleck in the workplace and you think you know it all, and that's your behavior, people don't want to be working with you, they don't want you around, and then you get stuck because usually you create problems for everybody else. So humble is important, and excellence, when we talked about those things about showing up and be prepared and reliable, you have to be able to get the job done, and you have to consistently and reliably do your best every day. If you don't get your job done, why should an employer keep you around? But I'm here to...
You're a funny guy.
You're a funny guy? Well, you think that that's enough if you're funny for me to pay you a salary?
Maybe if I get made.
If you're a stand-up comedian, you get paid to being a funny guy. But if you're in any other industry and you don't get your job done, no matter how funny you are, you will not stay employed long. So you have to think about appropriateness.
Yeah, there's plenty of jobs you don't have to follow.
Say that again? No, probably not. Okay, so the next thing is about being nimble. And you folks talked about being reliable and getting the job done. Here, the main issue is about being resourceful. Why do you think being resourceful is important to be at work?
Because things change on a day-to-day basis, and you have to be ready to adapt with them.
And you have to be able to figure it out. So have you folks ever been in a job where you're stuck by yourself because there's nobody you can get a hold of, a supervisor or anybody else, and you're working on your own and you have to solve the problem? What do? You sit there and say, my supervisor's not here, I don't know what to do.
Press the self-destruct button.
Pardon me?
You press the self-destruct button.
The self-destruct. That will be very helpful for you if that's what you do in the workplace, and then you won't be employed very long. That's the problem. Indeed. So the main issue is that you have to be solution-focused and solution-oriented, because if you bring your problems to somebody else to solve, they won't want to do it for you. And the next thing is team-oriented. The main issue is that very few of you will work by yourself behind a computer with no interaction with any other human beings. So if you can't get along with anybody, then why would we want you around? So how is that what you're seeing from employers here in terms of a list? How does this match your list? How is that different? Are there things here that surprised you? that are different than what you expected? Checking the time. Any questions about this part here? And I'm going to give you an example about alignment where, because this is the basic skills, but in order for you to be inspired to find the type of job, how many of you know what you want to do when you graduate high school? So what kind of jobs do you want to, can you give me an idea what kind of jobs you're looking for? Art background, okay. How about you?
Fishing.
Pardon me?
Commercial fishing.
Commercial fishing, okay. How about you? An artist, okay. And you?
I want to be a stand-up comedian.
A stand-up comedian. So far, haven't been too funny, but I hope you've improved your material.
Roasted.
The main thing is you need to know whether you're an artist or whether you work in commercial fishing. Unless you're self-employed and you only work for yourself and you don't have to interact with anybody else, all of those things are going to be crucial to keep you bringing income. And the important thing as well is that if you want to work for somebody else, one advice I can give you is you have to ask as many questions of them that they ask of you before you hire. Because if there's a wrong fit, it's really hard to go day after day. And sadly, I think that at times as young people, you just want a job because you want to start somewhere and it's important to break the ice. But if there's an incompatibility with who you are and the people who employ you, you'll be frustrated, you'll want to quit quickly, or you'll get fired quickly, and then it's going to stay on your record. Because remember, everything that happens to you in the workplace follows you. Because you have to have references, and you have to have demonstrated work ethic, because the number one thing that employer, before they employ you, will check your references. Those are the questions they're going to ask about this. All of those criteria is what they're going to ask about. What was your attitude? What was your punctuality? Were you honest and trustworthy? Did you show up every day? Were you present? Did you get the job done? Did you have bad manners? Because you talked about manners. Well, here's the thing: is manners is about respect, and you have to know who you're talking to and what's respectful and what's not respectful, and there's a place and a time for everything, including interrupting, including asking questions, because there's no wrong questions. But manners is that you have to know your audience, and it varies. So if you're wondering if people are checking your references, you use that handout and they'll ask about all those things. So you should know what a previous employer will say about you about all of these things. And you should reflect on yourself. Have you fallen short about solving a problem for yourself, or having the right attitude, or having manners, or not showing up for work? Because without that, I think that it's going to follow you. And I can tell you, I worked in the US as well. There's other cultures all over the world, and those things apply to all of them as well. So it's a universal employer paying people to do work for them, and that makes a difference. I can also tell you that there's things that I can train people on. Technical skills you can learn in school. You can learn how to do plumbing, you can learn how to do good fishing with all the equipment, you can learn all the skills of the trade that you're in. But I can tell you, I can teach people about attitude. Either you have a bad attitude or you have a good attitude. And you can improve that because you have control over that. But those things are something I can't teach you. That's who you are, so you have to know who you are and what you bring to the table in order to make a difference in the workplace. And I'm sure that's what you all want ultimately. So that's that in a nutshell. Any questions? Anybody has the time?
I'm here to talk to you about setting up some bills and MSP and things that you're going to do when you start to get out on your own. I'm just going to shut the door here. I do apologize. I am getting over a little bit of laryngitis here, so my voice is a little annoying. But I am going to do my best to get through this quickly. I've done some homework for you. I'll start with that. Just to make it easy. You just grab one and pass it around. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on these sheets, and then I want to talk about budgeting. So first and foremost, I'll let you know who I am. My name is Angie Carlisle. I am sure you sign in, okay?
Yeah.
Can you shut the door behind you, please?
Can I sit beside you?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be cool, thank you. We're still. You could grab one of those, that would be super, please. Alright, come on in. You can shut the door behind you, that would be awesome, thank you.
Oh, it fucked up my last
Work hard.
Just take one of these.
Are they hard?
It's like bills and shit.
Okay, so I'm going to get started while you guys sign in, just because we don't have a whole lot of time.
He's changed on my man, I'll just sign right. Oh, yeah.
You guys, as you're doing that, if you could be quiet, that would be super. I'm just getting over a little bit of laryngitis, so I'm really straining my voice right now so that you can all hear me well. Today we're going to talk about paying some bills and how you're going to get yourself set up when you are moving out on your own. And then I really want to focus on a little bit of budgeting skills, because budgeting is one thing that I'll let you know many adults struggle with. Okay, can I get your attention, please? Thank you. First and foremost, if you had a handout, just have a quick look at it. One thing that all of you are going to need to do in your adult life is set up some of your own bills, okay? Bills is a part of life. The first one on page 1 there is how to get in touch with BC Hydro, okay? If you live in BC, BC Hydro is your only utility provider, okay? When you're setting up a BC Hydro account, you need that for your electricity, you need that for your heat. You need to contact them, and they're going to be the ones that set you up with it. I actually phoned BC Hydro and talked to them and asked them all the information they're going to need. When you're first going out on your own and you're getting your own hydro account, you may or may not be required to have a security deposit. So when you're thinking about how great it is to be living out on your own, you got to think of all this cash that you might have on hand that you have to come up with right away. Hydro is one of them, depending on the type of residence that you're living in. On here, I just wrote down a list of all the questions they're going to be asking you, and then a little bit more information about how to pay your bills as well. Does everybody here, just by show of hands real quick, do you all have bank accounts? Yeah? Okay. When you are out on your own, a bank account is going to be a necessity for you. That's how you're going to get all your bills paid. Who here has a cell phone bill that they have to pay? Who has their family members pay their cell phone bill? Yeah, right? So chances of that happening when you're an adult is slim to none. Okay, so when you're looking at paying your bills, you're going to have a bank account to do so. Hydro is one of them. Most bills can be paid online, depending on which financial institution you're using. It's all super simple to set up. If you're tech savvy and you can do some online banking, it's quite easy to do. Moving on, MSP. Does anybody know what MSP is? Yes, you flipped to page 2, Medical Service Plan. We have free healthcare in Canada. In the province of BC, you actually have to pay for it. Okay? Everybody does have a premium that you do need to pay on a monthly basis. So just before you turn 19, your family member likely already has this set up for you, your parents, your guardians, whoever it may be. They're going to receive a letter just before you turn 19 that says, hey, you're turning 19, what do you want to do? You can either remain on your parents' plan if you're going to school full-time, or you're going to have to get MSP on your own. You may or may not have to pay a premium, which is a monthly bill, depending on what your income is. So if you do not make much, then the likelihood of you paying is going to be slim. But depending on what your income is, you do have to pay for it. You do have to apply for assistance each and every year if you are not paying the full premium, which is $75 a month. Turns out to be $900 a year. It can be quite significant if you're not making a lot. These are for you to take home. You can read them and hang on to them for when you actually are out on your own. I have the next 2 pages is just on Shaw and Telus. I called those 2 service providers because you know what, when you move out on your own, what's going to be the #1 thing you're going to want?
I hate Shaw and Telus.
Yeah, you want internet, right? You want to have Wi-Fi at your house. I'd say out of all of you, probably everybody, but maybe 1 or 2, that's going to be your #1 is getting Wi-Fi in your house. So you're going to need to have some sort of provider. I didn't call them all. I only have so much time. But this is just the information about Telus as well as Shaw. You do have to be 18 or 19 to get it in your own name. They will not allow you to sign a contract when you are under that age, so depending on which one you choose. Again, these are bills that need to be paid monthly. Okay, hence the reason for the bank account, which you're going to need in order to pay your bills. Has anybody paid a bill using online banking, for those of you that have your own cell? Yeah, how easy is it?
1 click.
Yeah, super easy, right? So this is just the information about Shaw and Telus. There are other providers that you can choose to set up your cable if you want cable, your internet, because I'm assuming everybody wants internet. You can always mooch off a free Wi-Fi out there if you wish, if you can't afford it. Does anybody have questions about actual bills? Has anybody put thought into when you move out on your own, you're going to have your rent and your bills? Have you put any thought about how much those bills are going to be? Yeah, and what do you think your bills are going to be?
I have a house I need to move into, so
Yeah.
payments for that, water for 2 people. I have it written down somewhere, but
Yeah,
I've calculated most of it.
yeah. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. The one thing I really want to focus on is budgeting. Budgeting is a life skill, and if you can add and subtract, you can do a budget. The hardest thing about a budget is sticking to it, right? A few pieces of advice, just so you do know, I've been lending at the credit union for about 8 years. I've been working at the credit union for almost 15. I see a lot of people who don't pay their bills. And when they don't pay their bills, I pull up their credit report, which is like an adult report card on your finances. And if they want to borrow money off of me or get a credit card through me, it's a no. You don't pay your bills. Okay? So paying your bills is something to take very seriously. That comes before your entertainment. It always has to, because it will mess with you in the future as you start to grow up. You do some silly things when you're younger because you don't think it's important. You will pay for it in the long run. If I were to grant a loan to somebody who I've seen has a history of not paying bills, I'm going to charge them a lot higher of an interest rate. Okay, so they actually physically have to pay money or more money when they're not actually paying their bills. So it is something to take very seriously. One thing that helps with keeping yourself paying your bills and still having enough money to live and eat and entertainment is having a budget. Okay? So who thinks here that when they graduate, they're going to get a great job and they're going to be living just like their family lifestyle at home? They're going to have a nice car, they're going to have all the food that they want, they're going to be able to go out and hang out with their friends and go to the movies? Yeah. The chances of that happening are very slim. You're probably going to struggle for your first couple of years. I don't want to like make it really dreary, but you know what? That's what it comes down to. When you're not making a lot of money, you don't have a lot of money to spend. And that's what it comes down to. So when you're looking at creating a budget, everybody has completely unique needs. Some people will make more. Some people just don't spend very much. I have 2 kids myself. One of them is a spender, the other one is a saver. They're completely opposite. Do I know what's going to happen in the future for them? Yeah, I know which one's going to financially strive and which one's not. But it's okay, you just got to make sure you fit it within your budget. I have here, in the last 2 pages, is a couple of things to help you with a budget. This is how you can put a budget together and how you can plan your paychecks. So just quickly, your plans after school. Who's going to go straight into college or university? Okay. Who is going to just get a job and work? And who's moving out on their own? Okay. So those of you that are planning on moving out on your own and going to college or university, your budget is going to be a little bit unique in the fact that you may or may not be getting a student loan for that. When you get a student loan, you get one lump sum of money in September, and that money has to last you until the end of December when you get your next lump sum of money. So if you go out and you get your $10,000, you pay your tuition, you pay your books, and then you spend the rest of it on, oh, I really needed that car, and I really needed to go shopping. What's going to happen is you're not going to have enough money left over to pay your rent in November, December, or pay your bills in the following months, let alone eating. Student loans do not provide you with a huge amount of extra money to be able to frivolously spend on want items rather than need items. Those that are planning on working, do you have yourselves jobs set up already? Do you already have a job?
Yes.
Yeah? And can I use you as an example?
Me or
Either one. Okay. How much are you making an hour?
32.
32?
Yeah.
And how many hours a week are you going to be working?
Roughly 80.
80?
Being camp.
So you're working 80 hours a week? Okay. I don't want to use you because you're going to be making lots of money. But how about you? Okay, minimum wage?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many hours do you think you're going to be working in a week?
40 a week.
40 a week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did everybody sign in?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and are you planning on moving out on your own?
Eventually.
Eventually?
Hopefully.
All right, you gonna live with the parents for a little while, their family members for a little while?
Yeah, I don't have enough money to move out.
To save them. Okay, that's a good idea. So I've just done a quick scenario. I've done it on $12 an hour, 40 hours a week. Right? It's a little more than minimum wage, but it's full-time work. Okay. If you're making $12 an hour, 40 hours a week, you're making about $480 a week. Okay. That $480 you don't get in your pocket. There's deductions, right? So your employer will so kindly ship off to the government taxes. I've estimated about 20% of your income is going to go towards taxes and your deductions. So that's EI, provincial and federal tax. That's going to leave you with $384 a week, which gives you a monthly income of $1,536. Okay, does that sound like a lot of money? $1,500 a month? Not really. It can be, depending on the way you live. But of that $1,500 that you're making, what's rent right now? You get maybe, rent's expensive. So if you can get like a 2-bedroom place for $1,200 a month, you and your roommate can share, right? So you're looking at $600 a month. So of that $1,500, you've got $600 going into rent. Then you've got your hydro, which is about $30 a month. Again, a shared cost. Then you've got the car. You want to have a car, you've got a car. That's got to have car insurance on it, right? So that's about another $120, $150 a month. You got to put gas in that car too, right? So you have to get back and forth to work. You need to have insurance and gas in your car. You have your cell phone bill. What's the cell phone bill right now? $75 a month? $75 a month? Okay. And let's say you do want to have cable, internet, Wi-Fi in your house. That's going to cost you probably another $100, $150 a month. Ask your parents or your family members how much their cable bill is, right? When you start subtracting all of those necessities, those are your fixed costs. Those are costs that are happening every single month regardless. So you have to make sure that that's where your money is going first. After that, then you get to eat, right? I'm going to be honest with you. One bag of groceries, on average, I go to the grocery store and I bring home 2 bags of groceries. That's costing me like $50, $60. One bag of groceries on average, depending on what you buy, right?
Grab dinner.
You know, you can live off craft dinner and that's okay, but you got to think of your health as well, right? When you think about it. But yeah, it's not uncommon to get a couple bags of groceries and it being 25, 30, 40 bucks per bag of groceries when you average it out. You throw in your produce, which might be a little bit cheaper, but you want to eat some meat. Buying packaged foods, like prepaid foods, those things are super expensive, right? They're easy. You throw them in the oven, it's done in 20 minutes. But overall, not only does it cost on your health, but they are really expensive when you start to make things from scratch. Also, when you're thinking about it, who likes to go out for a little coffee once in a while, or go to McDonald's or Dairy Queen or something, right? Every time you go out to one of those and you get yourself a meal, you're looking at 10, 12 bucks for one meal, right? That could be your food for the day. So when you're looking at your budget, you really have to think about your lifestyle and what you can afford first. So what is going to be your number one thing when you get paid? What are you going to be making sure you've got money for? Rent, right? Because you don't pay your rent, you're getting booted out of there. And who's crawling back home, right? What's going to be the second things?
Hydro.
Yeah, your bills. It's not just hydro, it's also if you do have internet provider, cable, anything like that. You have a gas fireplace or gas in your house, you're also going to be looking at a gas bill as well, right? So you need to make sure that when you're looking at realistically your take-home pay, go through this budget and this paycheck planner, and I use this all the time. I'm serious all the time. And these are with people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that still need assistance with their budgeting. So as much as I'd love to be able to go through a mock budget for you, these things here, if you hang on to them, they will help you. And planning your paychecks, what paycheck is it? Your first paycheck of the month is going to go towards your rent. Your second paycheck of the month is going to go towards your bill payments. What you have left over is where you can spend money on your food, your clothes, and your entertainment. Okay? Does anybody have questions about that? Can you understand the importance of making yourself a budget? Right?
It's really the year.
Yeah. Okay, you guys can go. Thank you so much.